Good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for being here. My name is Ebony Langford Brown, and I am the Director of Academic Programs here in Montgomery County Public Schools. I'm joined this evening by Peter Ostrander, who will be, he's in the back there, he's waving. He'll be presenting this evening as well. And our primary focus today is to really help our grade 7 families, and lots of our students here have some understanding about their options in high school. So we have 3 primary goals. First is to talk about our high school opportunities in our local school, the benefits of those, what all of our Montgomery County Public Schools will offer, and then specifically what will be the offerings in Region 6. Then we'll shift to the regional model, why we're moving to the regional model, how it works, as well as the timeline for implementation. And then we will close out our time together talking about these specific programs and those, what are the programs that are offered across our schools, as well as looking specifically at what the offerings will be in Region 6. So those are our 3 goals for this evening. So as we prepared for these sessions and meetings with our families and students, we wanted to get some information and feedback from our current seniors. And we were able to connect with some of them. And this is a word cloud that represents what they thought of when they thought about high school, their time in high school. And you'll see things like memories and experiences and growth and friendships, interest, and overwhelmingly what they felt was excitement, right? So they were excited as they went into high school, but they were also excited as they were exiting high school. And so what we know about high school is that it's a transformative time for students where they discover their interests, they discover their themselves, they find a lot of friends, and they really grow and mature. And as we look at high school, thinking about what it means to be successful in those spaces, there are a couple things. One is about going in with excitement and leaving with excitement. Another is staying interested as you're there, but also the other logistical parts of it, like your bell schedule and things like that. So it's bigger than the courses that you take. It's the entire experience that you're going to have in high school that will be a measure of the success. So as we look at pathways to success, as we look into moving into high school, there are 2 pathways for success. One is your local school program, and we'll talk a bit about that. And then we'll transition and talk about regional programs. So Peter Ostrander is going to come up and talk a bit about our local high schools.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Peter Ostrander. I work with Miss Langford Brown in the Department of Academic Programs. Prior to that, I was the coordinator at Blair, their magnet program, for the last 17 years. I switched over to the new work in February. Some pretty exciting stuff. However, one of the things we know is that about 80% of our students are going to transition from middle school to their local high school. And we want to make sure that all local high schools have strong programs and that all local high schools are able to meet the needs of all of our students. So when we think about our local high school, there's some obvious advantages, right? Every student, first of all, will be assigned to their home high school. That's nothing new in this region for a couple of the schools, but for Kennedy and for Wheaton, historically you've had the consortia, right? And you've had choice for high school, but the consortia is basically ending with this rising 9th grade class, and then the current 7th grade class will have program choice, but not necessarily school choice. So every student in 7th grade, when they go into 8th grade, will be assigned their home high school, and that home high school is set up to meet the needs of a large range of students. Comprehensive offerings are going to be at every school, which means that if your student isn't sure what they want to do and they don't want to focus, your comprehensive high school is going to offer courses across the spectrum: math, science, English, history, arts, everything. You don't have to do anything to attend your home school. If you want to go to your home school, no application needed. You just transition naturally to your home school. The school system takes care of that. Additionally, your home school might have community connections that other schools may not, right? You live in that community, you go to elementary schools in that community, middle schools in that community, you play sports in that community. So maybe a lot of your friends are going to your home high school too, and that just makes it a nice natural transition. When we're talking about our local high schools, on the left, every high school is going to offer strong foundational courses, like I said, in all subjects, right? So they're going to offer everything you need for graduation. I think it would be really silly to not, right? So everything you need for graduation will be offered at every high school. Additionally, every high school is going to offer a range of AP courses, right? And advanced courses. So AP, advanced placement. Some schools will offer IB, International Baccalaureate, or just advanced level type courses. And the middle column basically says in math and English, science, social studies, world language, technology, and fine arts, there's going to be AP, advanced level, IB options, one of those at every school. Like I said, some will do IB, but every school will have at least one of those options in every single subject matter. Okay, that's outside of special programs. So every comprehensive high school will do that. Additionally, every high school will have research components. That's going to be something new. And so there'll be research opportunities for every student in their building. They do not have to be in a special program to access those research opportunities. On the right, your right, my left, you're going to see that there are different student supports that are available in every school. So every high school is going to have supports for students with learning and academic disabilities. They're going to have supports for speech language. They're going to have transition supports. They're going to have Bridge to Wellness, which is a social emotional support structure we have here in MCPS. And they're going to have support for English language learners. So every high school is going to offer those supports for students as well. All right. So we don't want you to think that, even though we're here talking about regional programs, we don't want you thinking that regional programs are the only way to success, because all the high schools in this county are going to offer strong programs. Next slide. All right. So Region 3 is the one we're in. Now, you may not live in Region 3. We're going to be presenting on Region 3 tonight. But if you have questions about your region afterwards, we're happy to answer any questions on any region later on. Region 3 are these 4 high schools. So it's Walter Johnson, Kennedy, Wheaton, and the new Woodward building that Northwood is currently in, right? And so they're going to move back to their new building on University, and Woodward will open in that spot. So if those are your 4, if you live in any of those 4 assigned school areas, you live in Region 3, you will be going to your assigned base high school, or you can apply to any regional programs in Region 3. Next slide. Each school may have programs already that are available to all local students in that school. If you have students that have gone through Kennedy before or Wheaton before, you know that we have academy programs in the DCC. Those academy programs are still going to exist. They'll be for the students who would be assigned to that school based on where they live, right? So when we look at Walter Johnson, even though it wasn't part of the DCC, they had programs. So they had an APEX program, which was an advanced AP program. They're still going to maintain that. So if Walter Johnson is your home school and that's what you choose to attend, you'll still have access to that APEX program. It's not going away, right? That's for everybody who would be going there as a local student. You'll see that each school has a set of CTE programs, career and technology education programs. Those programs are often aimed at getting professional certification in some area. So that if a student wants to work while they go to college or work right out of high school, if that's their goal, they can do that. And so at Walter Johnson, you're going to see CTE programs of study in child development, computer science, mobile app development, hospitality and tourism. Those are going to vary school to school. And those kind of came out of interest of the local students over time. And then you may see some other student supports that schools may offer. Walter Johnson offers the basic school supports. They don't have any additional programs, but we're going to see some in the next couple of schools. Go to the next slide. So Kennedy, the school we're in. Again, because it's in the DCC, you're probably going to see a few more options because the academies were built into Kennedy and Wheaton before. So they have their advanced academies here at Kennedy. They have an IB program. You're going to see, or International Baccalaureate, you're going to see some programs appear in local as well as regional options. All right. So John F. Kennedy High School, this high school, has an IB program that is a regional program that everybody else in the region can apply to, and students who would go to Kennedy can apply to. They also allow local students who don't start in that regional program, but if they choose to pursue the diploma starting in 11th grade, they allow some students to move into the program in 11th grade locally. So that's when you're going to see some of the programs appear twice, right? Because there's a local pathway to those regional programs. But they also have academies in broadcast journalism, business, management, lots of other things. You'll see under student support, they have an ACES program, which is a partnership with Montgomery College. It's only at some schools in the county, not every school. They have Rec Zone, which will run things at lunch and after school. They have a wellness center and other things that you're going to see at other places too. And they have different types of CTE programs, including clinical medical assistant, nursing assistant programs. Okay, so they have those here as well. Next slide. Wheaton. So Wheaton just down the road, again, has academies. So they have an Information Technology Academy, a Project Lead the Way Engineering Academy, a Global Studies Academy. And again, this is one of those areas where you're going to see engineering here as well as in the regional programs. The Project Lead the Way Career Technology pathway is really just a 3-course sequence, whereas the regional programs are going to be a little more robust, have additional courses surrounding those, right? So that's kind of the difference. CTE programs in web design, child development again, healthcare professions. And then if you look at student support, they have ACES as well, 21st Century Learning Center, a college tracks program, George B. Thomas, which is a Saturday school, so they have additional supports as well. Next slide. Now, Woodward doesn't exist. So that doesn't mean they won't have anything, but I believe the principal just got appointed last week. Yep. So he's going to be working with the community, with any staff he's eligible to hire as they go through next year to build some of these local pathways. It's not that they won't have anything, just, it would be silly for us to decide what they are without any community input, things like that. So that's why Woodward has nothing listed. And no, that is not the real logo for Woodward. That is AI guessing what Woodward would be. I'm sure they'll have something a lot nicer. And no, I don't know what the mascot will be either. Next slide. All right. So when you're thinking about local courses, if you're a student, what I want you thinking about is what type of local programs would make me excited to go to school? Is it just that I'm there with my friends? Is it that I'm going to be playing sports with people I played sports with my whole life and they're going to that school that I'm going to? Is it because they might have some local programs that you're interested in and there's no need to apply? So sounds good to me, right? If you are a parent, you may have in your mind what you want your child to do. But I do want to make sure that you listen to your student about what they want to do. Whether it's attending their local school and participating in the strong comprehensive program there, or considering the regional programs that Ms. Langford Brown is going to talk about. If your student isn't interested in it, chances are it's going to be a struggle for 4 years, right? There is no wrong high school choice in terms of where it might lead later on. Every single high school in this county puts kids into super competitive colleges, gets them ready for great jobs, even right out of high school. So that's going to be taken care of. It's what your kid takes out of it. What you really want to do is try to find a good match for their interests and what they want in a high school, right? So you need to talk to your kid about it if you're a parent. If you're a child, you need to talk to your parent about it to make sure they understand. Because if you don't tell your parent what you want to do, they're going to fill in the blanks, right? And they're going to think, you look like a dancer to me. And you're like, nah, maybe I want to do medicine. You can do both, but it's easier one way or the other, right? So you want to have those conversations. If you have questions and you're not sure, ask your counselor in middle school. Look on the school websites. Go to your home school that you're assigned to. Look to see what they have to offer. And if you think you might want to go to a regional program after Miss Langford Brown talks, look at those as well. The little bit of time you spend is going to help you make a decision that's a little bit more informed. There are no wrong programs. There are no wrong high schools, right? It's a matter of just you trying to find a good match. All right. I'm going to turn this back over to Miss Langford Brown.
Okay. Now we're going to shift our focus to the regional programs, and we're going to start with why. So, why and how? So the regional program model is where the county is being broken up into 6 areas, 6 regions. And within those regions, there will be 4 or 5 high schools. In that region, students will be able to participate in specialized programs in any one of the high schools within that region. So right now, you know that we have options for magnets at Blair and Poolesville and Richard Montgomery. So within the regional model, all of those programs will be offered in that region. So every region will have magnet opportunities across 5 different themes, which we'll talk about in a second. So within that region, students will have access to the programming that's similar to what we find at Blair and Poolesville and Richard Montgomery. One of the reasons that we're moving to the regional model is because historically, we have about 3,000 students each year who apply for our current magnet programs. And we have about 300 seats. And so we end up with a waiting pool or wait list of students who are qualified for those programs or interested in the programs, but they just don't have, we don't have the seats available. So by moving to the regional model and having the same opportunities in each of the regions for students, we open up access for students. In addition to that, there's a barrier of distance and transportation. So for some of our regional current magnet programs, there's transportation provided. I think Richard Montgomery has, I want to say, 26 something buses. The VAC, which is the Visual and Communications Arts program, has no buses. Okay, and that has happened over the years because as programs came on, there was money associated with them, and so that money was used to do different things. So that inequity has existed. So as we move to the regional model, we reduce the distance that students will need to travel to go to specialized programs, but also we'll be providing transportation within the region. Okay. So this is just a list of all 6 regions and the schools that are in each of them. And because it's blurry, I'm going to go ahead and read. So Region 1 is Bethesda, Chevy Chase, Blair, Whitman, Einstein, and Northwood. Region 2 has Blake, Paint Branch, Springbrook, and Sherwood. Region 3, Woodward, Kennedy, Walter Johnson, and Wheaton. Region 4, Richard Montgomery, Rockville, Churchill, and Wooten. Region 5 is Magruder, Gaithersburg, Quince Orchard, and Watkins Mill. And Region 6 has Seneca Valley, Clarksburg, Damascus, Poolesville, and Northwest. So you'll see that in each of the regions, there are either 4 or 5 high schools. The regions are geographically decided, so it's based on the geography, how the schools were grouped together. So I want to make sure there are a few things that are clear about what we say when we talk about regional programs. First, each high school will have or host a regional program. So in that region, in this region, every high school will have programs that they host for that particular region. In addition to that, it's important to note that participation in regional programs is optional. Students are not required to apply. They can stay in their home high schools, or if they want to specialize in an area and really focus, then they can apply to a regional option. It is optional. In addition, current programming that's in building, so what Peter reviewed as all of the graduation requirements and all the courses, will remain in every building. So if you have a regional program that you're hosting, that's in addition to what the school already offers. We've gotten questions in the past about if my school doesn't host the arts or theater, will my school still have theater? Yes, your school will still have theater. That's not being taken away. The regional offerings are in addition to what's currently in a school. And lastly, for regional programs, there's an admission process, and that's either criteria. There's an admission process for that, or interest based. So if you would like to participate or be a part of a regional program, you must apply. Unlike for your local program, where you are assigned there based on your address. All right. So there are two different types of programs. Three, I'm sorry, three. There are criteria-based programs, there are interest-based programs, and then there are programs that are both interest-based that have some criteria associated with them. So let's talk about criteria-based programs. Those are the programs in which a student must meet academic measures in order to be considered. And we will look at various data points for that. Some grades for grades 7 and 8. We're looking at some of the test scores for MAP or MAP reading or MAP math or the MCAP scores. So a variety of data points will be used to determine if students meet the criteria for those programs. For our arts programs, there may be a portfolios that a student may have to submit. We're looking at some auditions as well for our dance programs. And then we're also looking at student interest forms. So there'll be a variety of criteria used to determine if students meet the qualifications to participate in a criteria-based program. For interest-based programs, students just have to indicate that they have an interest in that program. And as they make that selection, I'm interested in this program, there will be a lottery that we use to determine which students are selected for that program. This lottery systems that we've used in the past, so there are MCPS processes for lotteries that may look at homeschools and socioeconomics or a variety of factors for placement in lottery programs. Ideally, because we have so many programs that students might be interested in, if they select it and they say they're interested in it, and there is the exact same number of seats who request the program and the exact same number of seats available, then all students will be able to participate and be a part of that interest-based program. So that's ideally how it would work. And then there's the interest space with criteria. So the only program right now that's interest-based with criteria are our middle college programs, where students work toward an AA while they are in high school. And so for that program, you can be admitted due to your interest. However, in order to go through that program and meet the requirements of completing that program, you'll have to meet some criteria because you can't take courses Montgomery College if you don't meet some minimum criteria. You have to have the prerequisite courses as you move through to make sure that you can continue in that pathway. So that's the criteria portion of it. Yes, I'll get to questions in a second if you don't mind. Thank you. So that's fine. So those are the three different types. So let's talk a bit about the application process. There's going to be one application. It's the high school common app. Students interested in participating in programs, either criteria-based or interest-based or middle college, will do it through one application. The final details on all of the requirements and the timeline and the processes will be done before August, before pre-service, when our families need to make final decisions about applying or not. The application will open in October, and we'll give all of our final results in January. So students will know their placement decisions in January for the 27-28 school year. Okay? All right, I want to go over the implementation timeline. So I think Peter mentioned that all of our students who are currently in grade 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12, they will continue in the current model that we're using. There's no change in their programming. The first group of students who will be a part of the new regional model is our current 7th graders. So as they go into 8th grade next year, at the beginning of the school year is when they're going to start the application process for their 9th grade year. So at the beginning of school, like August, September, we will be doing an extensive amount of outreach to our students. And so during school, they'll have meetings with their counselors, presentations with their counselors so they can learn about their options, their local options, and their regional options. And in fact, some of our seventh graders, many of you may have already started that because we did some work this spring as well for students to get that first introduction to their local options and their regional options as well. And as we continue to roll out, they'll have opportunities in grade 6, grade 7, and grade 8. So our current students, our students who are going into 8th grade next year, will have dedicated time to learn about their local options and their regional options as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about the opportunities that you will have to learn alongside your students. So what I want to point out for this is that there will be 3 years of overlap. So you can see in 27, 28, 28, 29, and 29, 30 with the dark orange, there'll be 3 years where we will have students who are both in the new model and students in the current model. And so at the end of 29, 30, we will be completely in just the new model, right? So those two things will be happening simultaneously. So the short is, if you are currently in 8th grade or higher, there's no change. If you're in 7th grade or younger, you will be in the new model. And we bring in one grade level at a time. So we start with grade 9, and then the next grade, 9th grade class, and then the next 9th grade class, and the next 9th grade class. So one grade level at a time. Okay? All right. There'll be time for questions shortly. Okay? So let's talk about what we mean when we talk about some of these specialized offerings for students. There are 5 program themes, and I think of the program themes as buckets. Right? So it's like similar or connected information around a particular area. So the 5 themes are medical science and healthcare, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, international baccalaureate, humanities and language, leadership and public service, and the last major theme area is visual and performing arts, design, and communication. So those are the big buckets. And let me give you a little bit more information about these big buckets. Go ahead, Peter. So a couple of things is, as we made decisions about the areas of focus in these big buckets, we did a lot of surveying and gathering information. So we surveyed students, and we surveyed families and community members. We also worked with industry partners and other community members to make determinations about what would be valued and what the needs would be moving through high school. And these are the 5 buckets that were determined. In addition to that, within a bucket, there are pathways. So in the medical science bucket, that particular theme, there are different pathways that get to the content or get to fulfilling what students will learn in that particular bucket. So in the medical science bucket, there is biotechnology. There's also biomedical. There's also pharmacy technician. So there are different different pathways in that particular bucket. If you go to the leadership bucket, there are different pathways. There is leadership in global ecology, and there's leadership law and criminal justice. So that's a pathway as well. So what is critical for you to understand is that every region will have representation for all 5 buckets, so all 5 themes. However, the pathway that fills that bucket might be slightly different. Okay, so not all regions will have all the exact same pathways, but every region will be represented. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we were building the model in terms of what schools would host. We were thoughtful about the assets that they had. Okay, so that if a school had the facilities for particular programs, if the schools were already offering those programs, if the infrastructure, the teachers, and such were in place, we built on that. And so there are spaces in which there were programs that were existing in buildings that we continued in those buildings, but may not have lifted it up in a different region. And so that's where you see some of the differences in what's offered per region in terms of pathways. Okay. All right. So we talked a bit about concentration and specializing. So I want to be clear on what we mean when we say a program pathway. It is a 4-year program, and there's a required course sequence over those 4 years. In addition to that, there are at least 2 courses for which students will be cohorted, right? Sometimes 3 courses for which they would be cohorted. So if you're in a leadership program, for example, you would be cohorted for some of your social studies classes. In the math sciences, they'll be cohorting in math or in science. So at least 2 to 3 courses for which students will be cohorted for during that time. In addition, students will have some type of culminating activity, a capstone or an internship, or they will get an industry recognized certification. In some cases, they'll get an AA. So every pathway has a culminating event that's required for all students in that pathway. In addition to that, there are expectations in each of those pathways that there are real world experiences. So some type of internships, opportunities for collaborating with industry leaders. So there's an expectation that there are real world activities within each pathway. And lastly, there are expectations around the co-curriculars and extracurriculars. So all students in a pathway will be required, for example, to participate in certain competitions, right? Or they will be required to be in certain clubs. So there'll be certain co-curriculars and extracurriculars that are required for all students in that pathway. Okay? So it is comprehensive. So if when we say specialized, this is what will happen for all students. And because of the course progressions that are required and the other academic expectations, if a student really wants something more comprehensive, this is not a good match for them. If they want more flexibility in their schedules in terms of the courses that they're taking, it would make more sense for them to stay in their local programs as opposed to being a part of a pathway. So this is just a list of the programs that are offered at each of the schools in Region 3. You'll see that some of them have the C, which indicates they're criteria-based. Some have the I, which is interest-based, and then you'll see Middle College, which is at Woodward. You'll see the I/C there. So I'm going to read some of these because I know it's difficult to see. At Woodward, there's visual arts, theater, music, animation, and game design. Middle College and machine learning and data science. Kennedy, IB, medical science with biotech, clinical healthcare with medical assistant, and JROTC, which is junior reserved officers training. At Walter Johnson, there's humanities, critical languages, cultures, and global connections, and that's Chinese. And I did get a question earlier about that. What that means for critical languages is that the focused language is Chinese. There are several critical languages, but as a part of this regional pathway, the language of focus will be Chinese. And then also at Walter Johnson, there's leadership, law, and criminal justice. Wheaton has science, math, and computer science, cybersecurity, and engineering. And then they also have biomedical. Also, Wheaton will continue to host the Thomas Edison programs as well. All right. Okay. One of the things that we know is going to be helpful as you start making decisions about pathways is for you to have a real understanding of the demands of those programs, the goals of those programs. And we do have very high level information about them. But what I want to do now is share with you how you can dig in and get into the weeds of any one of the programs. So those are just trading cards that we're calling them now of every program that's represented in this region. So I'm going to show you how to get more specific information about all of the programs. So we're going to take a look at biomedical science, okay? And biomedical science is one of the themes in this pathways in this region. And in order to get more access to it, you can go to our newly minted, that's the wrong word, our new site, okay? And if you go to that site, you click on program themes. I don't know what happened to my arrow, but it's the second orange. There it is. Program themes. When you go back, Peter, when you go into program themes, down here at the bottom, there'll be on the page a larger tile for program themes, and you can click there. And then for each of the theme areas, so those big buckets, in this case, medical science and healthcare, you'll see a short video. Okay, it'll give you some information on that particular theme so you can watch that. But in addition, all of the pathways that are available within that bucket, within that theme, will be listed. And here, the first one says biomedical, the next one says biotech, the next one says pharmacy technician, and the whole list of them will be there. So if you click on the biomedical, this is what you'll see. And this is the same for every program, every pathway that we have. The first thing will be an overview, right? So an overview of the program, the visions for the particular pathway. And then you'll see core experiences. So what are those things that are going to make up the courses and the course sequence and the experiences for those students? And then there'll be program goals. And within those goals, there'll be goals specifically mentioned for the hands-on experiences. There'll be goals specifically about the skills and knowledge that students will leave with. And the last one is around the career, college, and community-ready expectations or goals for that particular program. Okay, so every one of the pathways is sketched out in this way. And then if you continue on, go ahead, Peter. You will be able to see where that particular pathway is located, so each of the schools, in which region where they're housed, and importantly are the course progressions. So you'll be able to see what students are required to take in grade 9, 10, 11, and 12. So all of the required courses will be spelled out for each of the programs on this site. And the last thing that you'll see are the program requirements. So these are the things that are above and beyond what students are required to take for their graduation credits. So it just gives it in one place what those course requirements are. Okay. So just want to reiterate that for all of our pathways, that level of detail is there for you. Okay. So very quickly, as you heard about some of the pathways and programs, what resonates for you? What are your thoughts? What are you thinking? Medical science and healthcare? What might your interest be as a student or as a parent? Medical, healthcare, and science? Tech? Science, tech, mathematics, engineering, STEM programming? Arts programming? Humanities, IB? Leadership, public service? Great. And we get the same numbers approximately each time, but we've been continuing to look at the data and will continue to look to see if there are any adjustments that need to be made. Okay, go ahead, Peter. All right. We're going to talk a bit about the timeline. I think Peter's going to go through this.
Right now, if you're a 7th grade student or parent of a 7th grade student, now's the time to start exploring those options. You're here tonight. Good job. That's part of it. But looking at school websites, all those sort of things are going to be important. In September and October, every school in the region will have an open house. and they'll have an open house and during that open house, they're going to talk about all the local programs they have, if that's your homeschool, as well as all the regional programs they have, whether or not that's your homeschool, right? If you're from one of the other feeder areas. So that's going to be in October. The good thing is, if you're part of the consortia, before there were not only the consortia nights, but the program nights, and it could get a lot of meetings. Now, 4 schools in your region, 4 meetings most. So it should limit some of the meetings you have to go to as a parent and as a student. In early November, you saw earlier where applications are available in October. We make our decisions by January, and that's because applications are due the first week of November, typically, right? And the application isn't that extensive, so it's fairly easy to complete. It is done in parent view. And that's because if you're a student, you need your parents' permission to apply to one of these programs. You can't just choose what school you go to without your parents' permission. I mean, some parents are going to be like, they'll just log you in and you'll do it. Other parents are going to be more involved. You guys got your own system in your households. Whatever works for you, great. But it is in parent view. Next one. Now, some frequently asked questions. I'm going to have to squint for these. These are questions we get asked a lot at our presentations. Hopefully they'll answer a lot of your questions. However, we will be around afterwards to answer questions, more one-to-one. We'll have some people out in the hallway and some people in here. So, are students required to apply to a regional program? No. If you want to go to your home high school, you're happy with that because it's a great school, and you know you're going to be taken care of, you don't have to apply to a regional program. However, if you want to attend a regional program, you have to apply. We can't guess that you want to go to a regional program, right? So if you don't want to go to a regional program, no need to apply. If you want to, you have to apply. Can students apply to a program outside of their assigned region? No. So unfortunately, we're trying to balance seats that way, right? And if we let everybody from one region apply to another region and they block them out, we'd have a lot of upset parents. So you're going to be limited to the programs within your region. And if you live here, that would be Region 3. Can students still apply to the Edison High School, Edison High School of Technology? Absolutely. So the career programs, the career hub programs at Edison operate separately from the regional programs. So students who are interested in those programs can still apply to those. Or at Seneca Valley, if you live up county, those are still going to be operational, but they're not part of our process. It's a separate process. Okay, how many seats will the regional program have? It depends on the program. Typically 30 to 60. Which means some of the existing programs are going to get a little smaller at their site. And then places that don't have programs are going to have more seats. So that's about per program. And transportation will be provided. We do transportation right now to application-based programs at central stops. What that means is you're not going to get the same door-to-door transportation you get to your home high school. And you don't get door-to-door, but the neighborhood stops, right? The corner stops. Those don't exist for regional programs. So if you're attending a regional program outside of your home high school, you will have a central stop, which is typically a school or a library or community center in the neighborhoods, right? And based on how many students are coming from your area, that will determine how robust that system is, right? Because it is based on where the students are coming from. Next slide. Oh, you already did next slide. Admissions timeline we went over. Opens in October, due in November. You got about a month. So it's not a lot of time. How will MCPS ensure the quality and rigor of the regional programs? Well, it's one of the reasons why I'm in this position now. We will have people that will be looking at the programs that are being expanded. I came from Blair, right? The science, math, computer science program. There'll be one at Wheaton in this region. I've already started working with Ms. Gerhardt over there. They have a long history of working with programs, so actually it's a pretty easy match for them to their engineering programs. But I've also been out to the other sites, Gaithersburg, Wooten, Poolesville had theirs already, as well as Springbrook. So I've already been to all those sites, and we've started that work already. We'll have some evaluative procedures in place, data that we'll monitor, and we want to make sure the programs that currently exist are being expanded with fidelity. For new programs, we're developing ways to measure that, right? So we don't have dance programs right now. We will have dance programs, 6 of them. And so how are we monitoring those? And we're working with the arts team at central office to kind of develop that. And we'll work with the local schools as we build those programs as well. So that is something we're doing. Our office will be instrumental with that. And we do take that seriously. How will MCPS staff these programs with qualified teachers? The great thing about Montgomery County is there's great teachers all over the place, right? And staffing qualified teachers is something we do regardless of whether they're regional programs or local programs, right? We don't say, oh, they're regional programs, we need to have exceptional teachers. Who cares who everybody else gets, right? That's not something we do. So our HR department is always looking for qualified staff. It simply just changes what type of teachers they're going to be looking for in recruiting, right? So as we expand some of the medical programs, maybe we might need teachers with certain licensures. We need teachers who have their CCMA, right, in order to teach those courses. For some of our upper level courses, cybersecurity is a new program coming in. We're going to need to make sure we recruit more professionals in those areas. We take a lot of student teachers from University of Maryland in computer science. I shouldn't say a lot. There's not a lot to begin with, but we say give us all of them, right, to make sure that we get them into our system and we're working with them. So there's a lot of different things we're doing to make sure we have qualified staff, but that's something we do not just for our regional programs, but continually for everything in this county. So what happens to the consortia? I mentioned that earlier. So the NEC and the DCC, the Northeast Consortium, the Down County Consortium, they will cease to exist as a consortia of schools. And students in the current 7th grade will no longer have choice of school, right? Instead, they'll have access to the different programs. They'll be able to apply to those. We want students to be making choice based on what they feel is educationally appropriate for them, rather than just what school they like, a mascot or something like that. I don't know, but we want to make sure that students are making that choice for their educational opportunities. Next one. All right. How are you going to learn about this? So you're here. So you kind of already know a little bit, right? You go to these meetings, you go to those open houses in October, you look at our website, you talk to your school counselors, you ask questions, all those sorts of things, right? You'll do. Your middle school counselors has information about our programs. We've given them a lot of information about our programs so they can talk to you. Your counselor may have even already presented to you guys on middle school options if you're in 7th grade. Can a student be enrolled in more than one regional program pathway at a time? So let's say you want to do biomedical science and engineering at Wheaton. Can you do both? No. There's going to be too many courses to do both of those programs and graduate with all the other courses you need. The way the programs are structured, there's not a lot of room for electives in the specialty programs because we're assuming those are the electives you want to take, right? So you can't do more than one program. Now, will you have access to an occasional course? Yes. For instance, if you go to Kennedy for one of their programs that's not the IB program, and you're taking a language course, the IB language might be the course you take. You're not going to get a full IB diploma, but you may be able to access certain courses in those other programs, just based on the fact that they're there, and that makes it easier for schools to schedule, to be honest. If your student's home high school, does not host a regional pathway in an area such as arts or world language, will those courses still be available at your home high school? Yes, right? You need world language to graduate high school. So every school is going to offer world language. You need fine arts to graduate high school. Every school is going to offer fine arts courses, music, visual art, theater, those sort of courses. So just because your home high school doesn't have a specialty program doesn't mean they're going to not offer courses in that area. They're just not going to offer as many courses as focused and maybe not some of the upper level courses that you might have access to in some of the other ones. And what happens if a student changes their mind? Well, good thing is high school students never change their mind. So, yeah. Students will change their mind. And let's say I apply to a program and, I'm finishing up the first year. I'm like, this really isn't for me. I don't have the time to commit that I thought I would or something like that. I miss my friends, whatever, the student is allowed to return to their home school, right? We don't lock them in for 4 years, right? It's not a 4-year commitment. So if you choose to not continue in the program and that's not your home high school, you go back to your home high school. If you're in your home high school for a regional program, you just stay at that school for the local program, the comprehensive program. Now, that's different from if a student struggles. If a student struggles, we're going to support them. We're going to have supports in place. The programs are going to support them academically, fill in any gaps that may be there, and we're going to work with students that want to continue, even if it might be an academic challenge. So we're going to support those students. This is if a student wants to voluntarily leave. We're not going to stop them. All right, next slide. Okay, quiz time. All right, do we have any prizes? No prizes. Pride. All right. Is MCPS launching all 4 years of the regional programs in 2027 with all rising grades 9 through 12? Is that what we're doing? No, we're just doing grade 9 first, then grade 10, then grade 11, and we're going to add it up over 4 years. Okay, your rising 8th grade student. This is for parents, not students. My rising grade 8 student must apply to a regional program. No, only if they want to. Next slide. My student can take college-level courses at their home high school. Yeah, I heard a few yeses. That's correct. Any high school in Montgomery County will have dual enrollment options. However, there are 6 regional middle college programs that are aimed at getting students access to potentially earn an associate's degree while they're in high school. But every school in the county will have dual enrollment options for either Montgomery College or potentially another university in the area, and the counselors at the high schools will work with students on that. Next question. All regions will offer the same program themes. Yes or no? Yeah. The same themes, not the same pathways, but the same themes. So those 5 themes you're going to see every region. Next slide. What's the largest number or the highest number of high schools that are designated to a region? 5. You're in a region of 4. Okay. But we have 2 regions of 5. Region 1 right below us and Region 6 in the more sparsely populated upper portion of the county. Next one. All right. Ooh, there's some reading here. What statement best describes a regional program pathway? Is it A, B, C, or D? What do we think? C? That's correct. Yeah, if it were just a club, why would you go to another school, right? So we're looking at a 4-year course of study with required courses, planned experiences, right? That's what we're looking at in a pathway, something more robust. Which statement best describes the 2 pathways to high school success? Yeah. Yeah, A. I like A. You guys are faster readers than me. I like A. Yeah, students can succeed either with their local comprehensive high school or a regional program. It's what they want out of high school and what they're going to put the energy in, and they're going to do other things, right? So they can be successful regardless of whether they go through the local high school, comprehensive high school, or regional program. Next slide. All right, contact information. That's me at the top and Ms. Langford Brown right below. Ms. Vane, who's not here tonight, is an instructional specialist in the consortia office. The consortia office, even though the consortia is fading away, they are still going to be providing support for the application process because that's what they do. Ms. Danko is outside, and she's supervisor within the consortia office, and Ms. Franklin's not here tonight. Emails. We're going to be around. If you want to go to that last slide with the QR codes. So there are 4 QR codes up here. I think these are these printed outside too? Yeah. So the left one is just FAQs, things that we've been asked that we've put answers up online for. The program's website is the second one. Program themes, just an overview, is the third one. And then feedback for tonight, right? And No matter how many times I ask, there's no electronic tip jar at the end of the feedback form. But we do appreciate when you give feedback. It helps us improve our presentations as we move forward if we're missing anything.